Talk amongst yourselves. No one's there anyway at the moment. Chisholm. Right. There's a sketchbook we're going to talk about. Yeah. Ooh, quite good lighting because I'm actually shining in my face, which is not so great. There should be more go that way. We want some light on this. Maybe. So yeah, I'm going to do some more. I'm going to do some more talking about sketchbooks. And yeah, it's been really cold. I might actually just be like that. It's very cold in the flat. It's just been a bit crazy. I'm very. I've been having. I very well have the heating on because we are a basement flat. Well, I am a basement flat, but it's not we anymore. And it means that I'm very kind of. It's like a bit insulated because half the flat is underground. But it's been very careful. It's been very cold. So I'm still setting up. I wanted to get a stream earlier, but I got sort of sidetracked into Molly's stream, and then some friends of mine are DJing over at Twitch, but I don't do DJing anymore. Maybe it'll be a thing like drawing I'll get back into again. I don't know. Hello, whoever's there. I'm planning to talk about one of the sketchbooks. I'll put you on the tripod and do that. And I'm going to do some quill drawing as well. So I've got the. Oh, we didn't move them out of the way, have we? Or knock them down. Oh, of course. We always end up knocking these down. So I've got my old quills that I made a long time ago, and I'm going to do some drawing with that. So it should be fun. I'll show you. That's something that John gave me. That's an African. I don't know what if it's a god or whatever. I call it blokey. This is and obviously I've added all of the. Every time I get something like I don't know, sort of a lanyard or beads or something, I give it to blokey as a little votive offering. Bark for me. Yeah. Yeah, you're not the king of me. So, yeah, this is a statue, a wooden statue, an African wooden statue, which I have drawn and painted before. I think it might work well in quill format. And hello, Sparker. So I think it might work well. But yeah, I'm not going to go woof at you, no. What a strange thing. Also, having Diddy Combs as your avatar is a bit of a kind of like, yeah. Do you often have a sex offender as your avatar? Yeah, P Diddy. Eek. So yeah, you can see from the hat. I'm just cold. I'm just cold in my flat. It's usually about sort of 17, 18 degrees in my flat, just naturally, or maybe 16. It's gone down to 15 today. It's 2 degrees outside, and it's going to go down to minus temperatures, I think. So yes. Must be a Rick Mail fan. What, the bark for me comment? Yeah, there's more the fact that I'm amused by the fact you've got P Diddy as your your avatar. That's a bit very strange. So, woof Nursey. Oh, is that Blackadder thing? Yeah, yeah, Nursey from Blackadder. I can imagine that. Yeah, I did like Blackadder. Wasn't so fond of. I mean, the ending was was not horrible, but kind of like depressing. But yeah, I did really like Blackadder. It was better in the sort of I think the first lots. Yeah, I wasn't so fond of the later ones. Everyone loves Blackadder. Yeah, pretty much. Although I say I wasn't so fond of the Great War stuff. It was a bit serious in places, which of course it would be. But yeah, no, I was a big fan of the Young Ones and Rick Mail and everything. Yeah, it was very poignant, but yeah, it was a bit of a heavy subject. I suppose it's Dad's Army. I mean, it's not really. You can do things in MASH. You can do those kind of things, but ooh. Hopefully I don't disconnect you. You might be able to see me. Well, you'll probably be able to see me because I'm going to try and angle that. So that seemed to work well on that stream. Hello. Because that's always the problem of trying to see people while showing stuff and looking at the camera. It's a bit difficult because it's like I can't show you what I'm doing and actually try not to dox myself. It's always a good idea not to dox myself. But yeah, that's I think this is a lockdown sketchbook. That's a self-portrait in my usual sort of like overdrawing style. That's me in front of my laptop. My laptop used to have all these stickers in front of it, so it's it had all these. I think alternate was one of them, and then there's a crumple smiley. Friends are doing this crumple mass thing on Twitch at the moment. No brain, which is a negative land sticker, and probably some strange famous stickers as well. Oh, another one. So I did two of them. Did not know. Actually, you wanted that way around. Yeah, I did two of them. That's adding some white ink as well for the beard. But yeah, I think that might be markers and some abstracts. There's I think that's Kingston Bridge again. More of Kingston Bridge. At some point, especially when the weather's not so freezing or chucking it down, I'll get out and do some outside streams. I've already got a little adapter for my rucksack, so we can test that at some point. And so I might do some live streamed hikes, but I haven't been on day mode at the moment, so I've been very nocturnal. So I hibernate this time of year. So yeah. That's from the river. That's also on the river. I think probably one of the abandoned boats. We get a lot of abandoned boats. I used to like drawing the wrecks of them. I think that's probably, yeah, I'm pretty sure that is a lockdown thing because that's an attempt at trying to do drawing from a photograph. I remember that. And that's, I don't know if it's my suit or John's suit. It's probably John's because it's got pens in it. I think it's his, yeah, that's his, that's one of his waistcoats. That might be the waistcoat he got cremated in actually. He got cremated in a waistcoat and t-shirt. That's another bus drawing. I think at this point I was probably doing a lot of work with, I think kind of like, which is going to be very similar to the going to be very similar to the Quill ink. Is I was actually doing a lot of work with black marker, like a bit like a fine Posca, like a black ink marker. Turns these are quite dark. I don't think these are. Some of these are fountain pen. Some of them aren't. I might try. I might use some colour. I'm not sure. We'll see how we go. Definitely want to do the face in very much like Quill ink. That should be quite cool. There we are. I hope that's not against terms of service. It's very arty anyway. But again, I really didn't like drawing from photographs. But yeah. Probably angle that a bit more. Hello. That's John. Well, it's not John, but it's John. Got some pink prosecco, and so I did a quick drawing of it, of mine, before it went flat. And more life work, but again, I've got a feeling it's from drawing. That's from photograph, not from real. Yeah, that's definitely from photograph. I really didn't like working for photograph. So yes. So how's everyone tonight? As I say, in the UK it's freezing. It's like 2 degrees in London, and it's been raining as well. Apparently, a possibility of snow in some places and ice. Whereas, like, yeah, not a good time to go out camping. I want to do another hike and before the end of the year, but I don't know if I'm gonna, if this weather and all the Christmas shiz, I don't know if I'm gonna get to do that. I think this is ink, a painting with ink. This looks like ink, and then I don't know if I drew it first or after. Sometimes I did things where I'd actually do the ink first and then draw with it, but I think possibly I did that drawing first and then ink. Another photograph that was someone relative of someone in the group. It was not a great photograph to work from. Oh, and then some. I can't remember what I did that for. It might be a challenge. But yeah, it's it's like a first class and second class stamp. Sparker says, sorry if my comments are few, but I don't know much about art. Well, I don't really. I've just been doing it for a very long time. -2 here, according to the Met Office. Yeah, it's a lot colder up north. I know you're getting snow and ice most likely up in North and Scotland. I don't know if possibly even snow in London, which is quite a weird concept. I haven't looked. It was raining earlier. That's along the river. That's more abstracts, but using I don't know. Oh, I know what that was. Let's various coloured pens. I don't know why I had the fine liner. Yeah, it's various coloured, very fine liners, and using them to overlay them to like make a sort of make the colours. I like doing stuff like that. So you'd overlay to get like a dark sort of turquoise green. You'd like put green and blue together, and yeah, and and overlay the yellow with the green to get a lighter green and that sort of stuff. That's what I was doing there. Yep. That's ink, and I think that I'm sure actually that actually might be the end of the paintbrush. That looks very much, the marks look, or maybe a marker, but it looks like I'm just using the end of the paintbrush, which is be a bit like quill work. And whoosh. That is a bus abstract. 65, 20. That I used to do. I love that you are not afraid to use lots of media to produce your art, says Sparker. Yeah, I do love mixing media. It was very unfashionable to be a mixed media artist. Now it's quite fashionable. I like to mix my media. This was drawn on a bus because this A5 sketchbook, a lot of them were done on buses, and it's a bus abstract, so it's the abstract of a particular journey. I assume on the 65 because the 65's there. You've got slow and the direction arrows and the TFL roundel and the, not sure what that is, and the 20 sign and the cones, and so basically stuff I saw on the window, the stuff I saw I'd usually sit on the top of the top deck and draw something, draw the journey. So it'd be like all these forms and things I'd see along the journey, and I'd make them into one abstract. The revolution will be lived. Okay. Another bus abstract. Sometimes I'd name the number of the bus. This I haven't. I usually would call them the number of the bus, but I haven't. I don't usually use the text in my work. There is a good reason for that. Oh, that's a COVID one. Little COVID signs. What's a COVID? That's my symbol for COVID was a little circle with the tendrils. So that's about COVID. And interior of a bus. Oh, a self-portrait, like the ones we did last week. Oh, Sparker is colourblind. Oh, I did not know that. Well, luckily I do a lot of work in black and white. And Sparker says, I love the idea of a journey in a picture. Oh, Sid. Hello, Sid. How are you? From Italy. Is it as cold as here? It's 2 degrees centigrade in London, and it's minus temperatures up north, and apparently it will go down to minus temperatures later. So we have a possibility of snow and ice, which is fun. And don't usually get snow in London. So yeah, that's a 5-minute drawing. I'm not sure what I used for that. That's probably not a fountain pen at that speed. Could be. Probably a marker. And that is the Farnese Hercules, or a copy of the Farnese Hercules. I've seen the original Farnese Hercules in Naples. I've been to Naples, and I've been to Rome, and I've with my partner a long time ago. But the Royal Academy has a copy, and so that's me drawing from that. And as I say, it's probably not in TOS, but whatever. It's art. It's art. It's a sculpture. It's not a real person. That's a 1-minute drawing of me. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I was doing that. More abstracts. That I look like I'm laying over with ink, probably. That looks like the pH inks. Could be gouache, but I think it's the pH inks. And more studies. Sid says, I'm from the north and it's still not so cold. Yeah, which is weird. Yeah, I know, you'd expect. I remember we did Christmas in Milan and Venice one year. I think it's 2011, and we travelled on Eurostar. On Eurostar, it was so cold and it had been snowing in north of France that we were delayed for 6 hours, and it was quite famous because there was queues around the block. And eventually, we got into Paris really late at night, and but actually, Milan itself was raining. So yeah, this is sort of hand studies. Again, I probably was using marker. This feels like I'm using marker, fine markers here, which is pre-using fountain pens all the time. That's a 10-minute one. That's better. You see it. It's better if you spend more time on it. That's prawn crackers in a little basket. I think I did that actually in the Chinese. I think I had the stuff with me. More COVID. What's COVID? Tate. 26th of. Oh no, it's pre-COVID. 26th of February 2020. Wow. I think that's something. Yeah, I might have done with godson, or of my godson. I think it was. Oh yeah, and that's the chicken they had. Yeah. My godson's parents used to keep chickens. Chicken house, that's called. That's an abstract. Sparker says, it's cold here, but not really cold. I've worn my head woolly once. I've been using the woolly hat. Not used my balaclava. I've got merino balaclava. That's really cold. I shouldn't need to use that inside, but I have done in the past. And I even worn gloves inside. Because the heating is. We don't have proper heating here. It's only electric, so it's expensive. So I generally don't I just generally wear more clothes. Do you like Diddy? No, I do not like Diddy. Wasn't COVID from 2019? No. I mean, the effect, it wasn't known about it. It was sort of known of in 2019, but it hadn't really spread worldwide until early 2020. And the effects of the lockdown didn't kick in until here it was March, because I was still going out. I went to a QI screening in early March, and it was one of the last ones I did before the lockdown. So it was like a week later, everything was closed, and I think it was mid-March. So it's possible I knew about the COVID, and maybe that was related because I was thinking about it, but probably not in late February. But we were starting to hear about it worldwide, and I was getting quite concerned in early March. But they didn't do any lockdowns until like 20th of March, something like that here. It was not a bit late as well. Oh, that's in that's a place near me, and it's a landing, so that's like the river. And this is in an ink by Aurora and Klingner, which I love, called Scabiosa, which is a terrible name for it, but it's a purplish ink, and it is a iron gall ink. So what happens with iron gall inks is you work with them and they're quite light, and then they darken as they react to the air. They're permanent, but they also they're the most permanent inks. So iron gall inks are often used in registry signings. Even though these are found dependent, often there's have iron gall in them because they are the most the dye that's in there. Because if you don't actually use them, the dye that's in them, there has to be a bit of dye in them, which is not waterproof, to show you what you're doing. Otherwise, iron gall ink would be completely invisible, and then it would darken over time. And it's made from iron gall. It's one of the oldest inks in the world. It is made from the little growths that grow on galls grow on oak trees, I think, or various trees. And it's been made back in Roman times as an ink. It's a very old ink, but the dye washes out. So the dye washes out, but the actual iron gall doesn't. So it means although it seems like it's not very archival because is that the original dye washes out, the actual mark itself will stay and will stay for. There's iron gall stuff from 1,000 years ago plus. Crazy, feel like it's a Mandela effect. I remember it from not 2019, but it was expecting something since early 2000. Yeah, I there was some press about it, I remember, but not much. I think what the confusing is everyone calls it COVID 2019 because that's when it was first discovered, but it didn't spread or become a thing until 2020. Life was going on quite normally, but they started getting these press reports in February, and I remember the press reports from February, and I was following and getting quite concerned. Then I did my back in. I've got a whole bunch of codeine down here somewhere, which I've still got from when I did my back in. So I actually had a cane at the QI thing, which was like March 11th or something like that. So I went to a few live events, but there was a big debate between me and my then best friend about whether you go, because it was not only my back, but it was starting to get concerning about COVID, and yeah, it was, yeah. He thought that everything would be over in a few weeks, and I was like, nope, nope. If they shut everything down, we're going to be out for months, and I was right. This is along the river again, Scabiosa, I think this is. It might not be Scabiosa because it hasn't got the. I think I might have mixed in some blue ink from that. That looks like pure Scabiosa. Thank you, Sid, saying it looks beautiful. And Sparker says that is a great picture. What's the name again? What of the purple ink? It's I used to do a lot of work with Rohrer and Klingner, which are a German ink company, and it's called Scabiosa. And yeah, it's an iron gall ink, and I used to do a lot of work with Iron and it's just a bit tricky because it's very hard. That's Iron as well. This is Iron and that's another Iron ink, which I can't remember the name at the moment. But it's another Aurora and Klingner ink, but it has a really beautiful, but it gets very dark, and so that means the dark, the dark part of it's good, but it can be quite hard to control because if you think about it, you're working with something that darkens over time, and so it can get very difficult to work out how much. I've got like portraits where someone's come out really dark because I'm washing with it, but I'm using it and I'm measuring it from the dye that's in the ink and it darkens. So yeah, another work from a photograph. Gladys, that was Gladys the chicken. Oh yes, yeah. A rather doomy abstract. And this is probably the early parts of the lockdown, I think. So just before. Yeah, this definitely is because that wasn't live. That was from photograph, and this is from photograph. So this point we'd moved all of our portrait stuff to online only. So we were working from photographs. Ooh yes. I'm not sure where that is. I think I've got an idea. But that's I think the river, and that's a drawing of John wearing a mask, and that was the weirdest thing going before everything closed down. Was going to places because this is not here. Going to places and then wearing a mask. Did you keep chickens? I didn't keep chickens. My my godfather, my godson's parents did up in Coventry. So I must have visited them before lockdown. I certainly visited them during lockdown. Well, not during, obviously, because we couldn't go anywhere. But when they relaxed during the summer of 2020, they relaxed the restrictions. So I got out because after about was it March, April, May, June, July, after about 4 months, yeah, me and John were at we were at Loggerheads. We had a small flat, and I was going out and drawing in and sitting in. I said in the last stream, bus shelters because in the rain because I wanted space away from him. I loved him dearly, but it was very difficult because we weren't used to being, in each other's pockets like that. But yeah, this is probably before everything really shut down, maybe, or maybe one of the times it's relaxed because there was all this eat out to help out stuff. But he's kind of badly wearing his mask over his nose, which he used to do that. He used to wear his mask like wrongly. So that's why it's over his nose, not his mouth, that you might have noticed. And that's along the river. That's along the river as well. And that sadly he died. That's a Syrian, very cute Syrian owner of a cafe near me, and he was open for takeaway. But he was kind of chuffed by the thing. But I said, "Oh, can I draw or paint you normally?" Because I really wanted to do a painted drawing of him, but he because of his religion, he couldn't say yes. So yeah, this is Inktober, I think, so it's supposed to be later in the year. Sparker says, I feel like when you draw people, it really captures how the subject is feeling. I try to. It's one of the things I always try and do is detail. is detail that. Yeah, I try and get a sort of an idea of you can't always tell, obviously, but some idea of soul in the photograph, in the painting, drawing, or photograph as well. I suppose it's harder than photograph. I do a lot of benches, and this is along the river as well. But yeah, lockdown kind of came and went, so we and then came back again. So some of these river ones might be from the second lockdown or the third. There was 3 lockdowns. Yeah, more abstracts. Using that dark, I think it's an angle ink, the red one, the blue one, and I can't remember the name at the moment. I think it's also angle, but white pen over the top, and the same. And there's John again. You can see a little heater behind us. I've still got that one. Yeah, it's just over there. And this table is what I'm using now. So that's the table, and he's sort of sitting on the sofa, and yeah. I don't have many drawings of him, but a few, because he wasn't really one for he wasn't. He was a terrible life model. He wouldn't stay still. So yes. Oh yeah, that's along the river. Must have been relaxed. The lockdown must have been relaxed by then, because there's one of the Turks boats, one of the hire boats, and that's me drawing. I had like a little. I only didn't use it very often, but it's a little pose model for the for life drawing. But I didn't use that very often. Oh, this is Coventry. So I know when this is. This is August 2020. That's some of the buildings in Coventry. The planters. Someone stole one of these planters from the front garden. It's mad, because we had 4 of them, and literally arrived and there's a space there, and I'm like, who steals a stone planter? So I don't know. It's very, it's like I've really got the detail there, but it's like, who steals a stone planter? It's like crazy. Yeah, I talked in the previous one about using kind of multiple inks and overlaying them. Like I was using sketch ink by, again, Rohr and Klingner, but it's a document ink, and it's a waterproof ink, and using those I can't remember the name at the moment, the Pentel pens, the one with the flat. They are a very strange type of fountain pen. And so this is just layering different inks on top of each other. So I've got more of a greenish ink and a more bluish ink, trying to get kind of a sort of almost monochrome thing. And I showed a drawing in the previous stream of this the Atlas. This is the wider view I did before. As I say, the place was closing, and I can't remember the name of the castle. I should know it. It's south of Coventry. It's Elizabethan castle, and yeah, this is I really enjoyed going there. I did that on the way back from visiting in August 2020. This is a good one as well. This is along the river. This is from Canbury Gardens, and again, it's a mixture of. I would probably start drawing with I don't know, marker, maybe fine liner or something, and then layer over the sky with the wash from the blue, and then the green and the blue, and at this point I think I was using the bright green as well to get like a variety of greens, and yeah, that came out well actually. Oh yeah, House of Stupid Games, it says. Wind howls, water flows, sky falls, future goes. Lock down, lock up. Jailer, erection. Okay, no idea what that's about. Again, as I said before about the using the wax, I still feel the wax actually. The wax resist. Drawing basically blind and then going over with ink. I love the colours in that one, or at least my version of them. Yeah, well, the thing is that this one is greens, so you're probably all right. As if you're red brown, colourblind. Blues and greens, yeah. But these are monochrome basically. These are kind of like green and blue, so they're very monochrome. They have very little colour in them. And that is just all greens and blues, so it's very, very monochrome really. And this one is the Ice House in Home Park, and yeah, that's a combination of sort of browns and greens and yellows, but it's quite monochrome. It's not you know, it's sort of more of a suggestion of colour, very sort of pastely. Oh, I drew a local kebab shop. Please wear a face mask. I thought at the time these things were going to be really important. Maybe not, but you know, like a document of what was going on. Sid, every one of your river depictions are really fascinating. Fabuloso. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, I do a lot of river stuff. Oh, that's Nihal again. So I did a lot of Nihal drawings from the portrait of the year live stream. Oh dear. COVID, definite COVID. Little spirals. I stopped a hangman's noose as well. Oh dear, this is not good. Yeah, for some reason a golf course sign, but also hangman's noose as well. Lots of cross boxes, lots of crossed thing. I can tell by the way I drew it and what I drew, what state of mind I'm in. Yeah, more COVID stuff. It gets darker and darker, and it's literally, you know, towards the end of COVID, these things just like black. Is that it? Yeah, that's it for that sketchbook. It is a great diary of the times. Yeah, I wish I kept it up, but it's not always possible to do that. You know, I have gone through this one before, so I'm just going to start working in this one. It should be the work. That's what I did on the last stream. There's a space to do this. I have a feeling I might have to make space for the. Of course, it's got to be portrait rather than landscape. I've even got the. Though I have a whole pack of these somewhere. They seem to have survived. Got titanium coated. I think it's titanium. Flex nibs. They cost me a lot of money, so I hope I can find them where the rest of them are. It hasn't rusted. I've got one of those little desiccant bags in there because they rust really quickly. Those, you know, for dip nibs. They're the most flexy nibs ever. I might push that way a bit more. That's good. Sorry, blokey. It's a bit tippy. He's lost his little hats, which are from various prides. That could be their around. What's that from? Oh, Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I'm not sure what the advertising on there. Thank you. When you go to Pride, they give you all this sort of stuff, all various events. Hindering passage as it is. I don't know what that means. That's from. Hi, Molly. I'm just going to start doing some drawing, hopefully. I was just trying to make some space, but yes, everything fell down, as they do. I haven't done a quill drawing in a long time. And the inks we've got Indian ink, not so much in that one. I might actually have some elsewhere. That's Winsor & Newton. I might actually have a bottle of it elsewhere, because I used to always do little. The reason for the containers is it's not an easy portable. You want to kind of keep the original ink sealed up and not put too much air into it. So it's a good idea to have little bottles. Jackson's ink, which is waterproof, and Youth ink, which is one of the Chinese inks. And we shall see. So let's see which of these quills are going to work. Try that one. I made these quills. I sharpened them, you know, sort of you sort of what you do is you heat up sand, then you in the oven in a little can. Yeah. I'm using the mirror again. I thought I may as well use it. It's difficult to, as they show me, and do the work. But anyway, yeah, the way you make quills is you put the sand in a container. I used a tin can, and heat it in the oven for a couple of hours. Then you stick the feather in, and that hardens the end. Or you leave them for a couple of years. And then you take a sharp knife, and then you create a sort of a sort of quill nib shape. That's a little more tricky, because it can, if you haven't hardened it enough, or if it's a bit brittle, it can kind of splinter, and that can be an indicator that's not a good feather. Or if you need to do some more hardening, sometimes you need to harden it a few times. You just leave it in there until it cools, and so it should heat through the actual quill and harden it. Or you can leave it for about 2 years. Anyway, let's see. Let's see. This is what they used to have to do in the olden times. Oh, very abstract. Also, it's probably going to look quite. It's also probably going to look quite Picasso, as it would do, because he did a lot of work with African sculptures and things like that. And of course, Blokey has a beard. No, that's a real quill, yes. This is a real quill that I made myself. Because I used to do a lot of quill work. I used to do life drawing with quills. Location drawing with quills. I'd often go back to the location. Sometimes if I got the feather from like a park, usually, I mean, I bought these because these are turkey feathers. For some reason they've dyed them a colour. I don't know why. Maybe it's for fancy dress. Oops, you see this? What happens? They can blot out like that if you're not careful. But sometimes I go back to where I originally got the feather from, and then do a drawing of that. It's a shame you can't cure the things on site. I suppose you possibly could do if you had a fire, I suppose. But it's not an easy. It takes a while to do it, so it'd be quite nice to actually do it all in situ. I like the idea of using, and there's probably a channel in it, actually using sort of materials, a bit like a sort of what would you call it? Sort of array mirrors of art. So you're using stuff in the wild to make your work. You could totally do that. So many pigments come from mud and oxide, iron oxide, and things. You could very easily do whole works, and that's what cavemen did. So there's his ear. This is a bit abstract, I do know. Yeah, I think that's wrong actually, but anyway. There's his ear. Yeah. And then I'll probably use a traditional brush to do some shading on it. And then he's got a crack running down here actually. I didn't do the crack, but this was a present from John, this sculpture. So, you know, and Blokey watches over us. Blokey is a sort of I've decided that Blokey is a protective totem or god, and he watches over us. And I have drawn him before. I don't know where John got it from. Knowing him, it might be something that it shouldn't have exported from the country. I don't think it's valuable, but you never know. You're chatting about that trip. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing a trip. I'm happy with winter camps, by the way. I mean, I'm not so fond of snow, so I've never camped in snow, so it'd be interesting. But you know, I can do cold. I've camped out at -3 before now, so it is possible. It's not, you know, and I want to do a trip before the end of the year. I want to do a hike, the Ridgeway I was thinking of. So you know, it would be nice to do something like that. And yes, you can be a bit more accurate than this, but it's a kind of a bit of a random, especially the first time in a long time. It's a bit of a random thing. So it seems to work better as almost like, and often it comes out a lot like a sort of almost etching, working like this. It just looks a lot like old and I've not done any wood etching. I've done wood carvings. I mean, I've done etching as in, you know, chemical etching. I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest. It's not a procedure I particularly like working with. It's very slow. These different flowers, and then there's the Transport for London. I think that's for John's. The Transport for London thing is one of John's, I think. You know, it's one of his. Probably went to a transport conference or something. He used to do consulting on transport. Well, he spent his life on buses. Probably what killed him though. The art is. I can't easily reframe it because you see that's what happens. He draws over. Yeah, not easily. Because if I do that, it's kind of in the way. It's not easy to do. Because yeah, unfortunately, I'm working. I didn't think I'm working this way, and Blokey's got to sit on the box And when I tried to move it around, it all fell over before you arrived. Yep, something just went. So that's why it's at an angle, because I can't. Unfortunately, I didn't think about that when I framed everything. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And now it's all moved. Ag. That's why I don't want to move it, because since I've moved it, it's all moved. All of the shapes have moved. Great. I only decided to draw this literally last minute. I wasn't going to draw this sculpture, and that meant everything had to be reconfigured, because I wasn't going to spend a lot of time. Well, I knew it. I didn't want to. I could spend a lot of time, but unfortunately, I didn't want to stream it like midnight. So it's kind of a difficulty with this. Is that it's you don't want to do that. Yeah, that's not great. Now, just wondering, I might do a little bit more drawing, but I'm thinking, oh, careful. Another thing about, I mean, the Jackson's does actually dry quite quickly. One of the issues with working with most inks is that is the drying time. One of the reasons why I do a lot of work in the fountain pen inks is that they are designed to dry really quickly. Jackson's is not too bad, but I have got some inks that take an age to dry, and I never use them on landscapes, because what happens is you end up sitting there in the cold, freezing your balls off while the thing dries, and you can't do any work on it while it's drying, and you can't go anywhere because the thing, obviously you'll smudge it if you try and do anything. And yeah, so Jackson's is not the fastest, but it's not the slowest. It's somewhere in between. I'm using it a bit more thicker than I would do it in another way, but should hopefully dry. And it's also waterproof, so I should be able to do a washes or colour over it. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but yeah, it's yeah. Talking about yeah, I did a GCSE. My GCSE was okay. I drew my dad's guitar. That was because it had to be in the because it had to be in the actual room. I had to bring everything in and set it up. So it was and then spend 3 hours doing a watercolor painting of it. I think actually it might have been acrylic. I think it was watercolor style. It was in acrylic. I wasn't using traditional watercolors back then. I was using acrylic, but I used it in that sort of that sort of style really. And yeah, I got a B. I was annoyed. I wanted to get an A. I never got an A for an art. It used to really piss me off. I've mentioned this in a previous stream about how there was a girl called Lisa who didn't have to try. She always got A's. She was always the teacher's pet on it. And I could never understand why, because I seem to actually put work in and really work at it, and she never did. She just kind of coasted. Yeah, unfortunately got a drip there. That's the thing, you have to work with the drips. Yeah, and also smudging. Could try doing a wash. That's what rinse off thing. It doesn't really matter. Ooh, that's the feathers. What brushes do we have? We did have brushes on here, and they all got moved off the table. Maybe one of these. These are from Artway, actually. These ones. These are from. They're kind of synthetic. A bit like the brush I showed, the squirrel brush. These are kind of like synthetic squirrel brushes. Oh, yeah, actually, it's a good way of testing to see how dry it is, actually. Oop. Lisa, yeah, Moses, Lisa can jog on. There's always a Lisa getting in the way for everyone. Yeah, I don't know. I've not known enough Lisas to comment on that, but yeah, she was one of those people who was always, good, good at everything, but then didn't do anything with it, and she didn't become an artist or anything, and that annoyed me because it's like I don't mind if she'd actually gone on to be an artist or something, but as far as I know, she did not. This is quite an abstract piece. It's slightly wrong, but this is where you can use that spilled thing as a little reservoir. So I just want to put the dark areas in, but not too much because otherwise we'll lose the whites. And maybe make these a bit more. So really, it should have been called quill drawing with a little bit of brush, but, I don't know if that's going to dry in time to do any extra stuff with it. I don't know. It's quite hard to see this dark side. Okay. Let's try and extrapolate because things moved. Right. Thanks for coming, Molly. So it's always more the merry. Maybe I'll wash the background as well. It's also a way of getting rid of, when you've actually dropped stuff on there, you can make it look intentional, but also use that as almost like a, you know, as a, on, you can drain it by going, okay, well, let's use it here. It's a way you can kind of deal with a spill like that as you use it in a wash. There's a reason I want to do this, is because I might use some colour over the top, because it feels a shame with all these bright colours just to, but I don't know. Good night, Tim. Thank you for coming, Eknud. Yeah, Melody said that's crazy you didn't get A's. No, I got B's, so I consistently got B's. It was really annoying. It did drive me to get better at it, though. And as I say, the weird thing is that people who spent all their time, the other people didn't, you know, they didn't do anything with it. So it's a good lesson if you think, you know, oh, you know, I won't get anywhere, and other people are better than me. Often they don't continue with it, so it doesn't really matter in the end. You know, all that matters is you actually keep doing it, and you know, then you're kind of you know, it's sort of, you've won in a way, because you're the one that kept going, and they're the ones who gave in, you know. And so many people are very good at things, but they just don't do anything with it. And I think it's really important to sort of keep going like that, because you will find, as I say, majority of people do not do anything with it. And it's crazy, because they're like, they might have real natural talent, but they don't do anything with it. So that means you kind of you go up the ranking automatically in a way, because you know they didn't do anything with it. They didn't go forward with it. So you know. Where are those beads from? I know I got for the flowers from a or the, you know, the Mardi Gras flowers. That was from a Pride. I know a lot of this is from Prides. I'm not sure where the beads came from. And that's I see that's John's. That's John's as well. And the various wristbands from various things. Or his hat. I'm not too sure. It's probably some kind of art thing hindering. Don't know what that means. Yeah, not too bad. I wonder if I can do some colour. But the question is what? What would be a good... Yeah, I don't mind getting ink on this table. As you can see from this table, it's my art table, so it's... This stuff doesn't come off. I've done ink stuff on here before, so the table is wrecked. So new. What do we have? I could do watercolour, or I could do graphite. Wants to be something bright. Graphitint. Could do graphitint, could do watercolour. I don't know. What should we do? What should we do? Oh, I really need to let it dry a bit, really. I love how this stuff happens, you know, when you lay in stuff and you get this sort of that, and it spreads out. I'm a big fan of that. I just love how these things, maybe not on the, I don't really care about the other page, it's more the fact that I don't want it seeping through. That has happened as well. That's happened, like if you let things go into the binding, it will seep through into the pages, which is not what you want usually. Yes. Maybe I can add some colour in some of the bits that I think are dried. It might not be. As I say, it's probably just more a suggestion of colour. It's a very kind of is that dried? Is that not? Not sure it's dried. Usually you'd wait for it to dry first. Well, let's try its headband. This bit. Is that dry? No, it's not. Hey. Yeah, it's not dried. I might leave that to dry then and do another piece or something. I'll come back to it somehow. Or maybe leave it as it is, but if we could do something with, if I work with a dip pen, do a quick dip pen piece, then that will dry quicker because you're not laying so much ink on the page. This is the fun thing of working with quills. Quills are good, but they can dump a lot of ink on the page, and that can be not so great. So there we are, I've got a dip pen. I need to put this somewhere where it doesn't go everywhere. I'll go back to that later when it's dried a bit. Luckily, I've got more than one sketchbook. That's why we have more than one sketchbook. Which one shall we use? Let's use the mixed media. No crunch everywhere. Yeah, that's what we did on previous. That's what we did last stream. That drawing, and that's what one did in the first. On the first one, I did that one. So. Was that finished? No, I'm going to leave it to dry because I don't want to. I don't want to. I started trying adding colour to it, and it was just bleeding out. So I think the best thing to do is leave it and do another drawing, and then come back to it while it dries. But I haven't done a dip pen drawing in years either. So yeah, I like my archaic things. And luckily with this one, we can fold it over, so it's less of a problem. So yeah, actually I probably should have not there. That is a good point. Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. sort of erase it. Yeah, just realised I wanted to be more up here. You see, you can do a variated line with this sort of thing. I won't hit that problem, am I? Yeah, unfortunately I've got water on the page, so that's my problem. Again, quite abstract, but you know. And this makes a lot of noise. That's the scratching. Yeah. The thing about dip pen nibs is that they are going to be scratchy, so they make a noise, which can be quite satisfying, but also quite annoying, especially in a live drawing context. So we're going through the ages and all this. Yeah. It's harder to see the dark side. I mean, it could just be a tourist piece. This, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, with John, there's two modes he had, which is either it's something that is kind of they just sell to all the tourists, or it's a priceless artifact he actually exported illegally. Or you know, there's. I don't think it is, but there's still a part of me who wonders. Oh, I wonder, you know, what is this? I think it is a bit of an antique. So I do try and keep it in good nick. But you know, I've got no idea. He's brought it back from South Africa once. Don't know about that. And you've got this scratch going down here. Nice crack. And the nice thing about these is you can do this, which is use the back of the nib. Yes. But it's also a much slower way of drawing. Very particular. Yeah, he was very. He'd spend money on silly things and like very expensive things, and then not look after them. It was very strange because it was like, well, you spent all the money on these Egyptian cotton sheets, and you've left them to get mouldy and destroyed. It's the kind of thing he did. So I'd end up having to look after these things all the time. But luckily, he gave me this, so I could look after it. what I like about dip pens is you can really sort of very incredibly fine line and then very sort of expressive lines as well. You can do a mixture in the same nib. And if I could find a fountain pen that does it, I'd be laughing. Everybody who works with ink would love to find something like that, but they don't. They are very kind of. There's always a trade-off with a fountain pen. There are some very flexy fountain pens, but they're not. They're not as good. They're not as good as. And yeah, so and that's how I got into doing all of the flex pens and the fountain pens. Was I started with this sort of thing, and then was I'm not going to write that down. Transport for London. I'm not going to write that. But I used to do a lot of dip pen work, and I was like, well, I really want something like a dip pen I can travel with, and use, because I was using, don't know what I was using. I think I was using marker pens and technical pens. I was drawing in the wild, but I was like, no, I want something like that, and that's what got me into flex pens. A very expensive hobby, really, very expensive. Something like anyway. Yeah, I'm just going to loosely draw these because you get more of an idea, I think, if I add colour or wash, what they are. I wasn't planning to draw all of them either. So anyway, this is where you get to regret things like bead necklaces because you're like, but yeah, it's all very like. I've actually refused to draw some things just because I just cannot be asked with all of the things. Bricks are always a good one. It's like, yeah, I really, I mean, you tend to do it with a wash, but sometimes it depends on the thing. Sometimes it's quite detailed, and you have to kind of live with that detail, and it's a bit like, I don't wanna draw all this stuff. It depends on the subject. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes it is. You have to live with the fact there's so much of it. And sometimes you just go, oh, I'll just hand wave it away. No one will notice. And it's about being an artist. Well, there are many ways to be an artist, but one of the things is knowing when to add detail and when not to add detail. When the detail is important and when the detail is not, and that's what that's what you learn a lot of people go, oh, it should be like, um, it's about color, whatever. I think really it's about detail. It's about knowing when something is important, when to stop. You mentioned that in the previous one, and also what detail is important to the picture. And that can vary according to your mood or whatever, but also is the subject. In some subjects, the details are really important. Like a building, you can't really get away from. You can't say, oh, I can't be bothered to put that door in, or that was windows in. Whereas if you're doing a landscape, yeah, of course you can go like, not doing that tree. Spargo says sometimes the difference in perspective from the camera and the artist can make the outcome seem different. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got. I mentioned previously about time and how you've got this whole thing about you've got this whole thing about how you're expressing something in time, and you are sort of compiling that. That's the difference, because the photographer is only working in fractions of a second. The decisive moment, they don't deal with anything else, and that can be a bit of a problem because you can miss a lot that happened just after you took that photograph. It's very hard to get a photograph that expresses something. Ideally for that moment, and expresses it forever. That's why it's tricky. But yeah. But also, yeah, if you're staying there over time, it's different. Also, the lenses have different things. So your lens does your lens will give a certain bias to certain things. The angle of view, the focal length, and all that. Uh, and it's. I used to have arguments with John about things, about colour and really random stuff. It was. He had a view of like, oh no, that's that colour, and then we go, no, that's that colour, and I'm like, I'm the artist. I do actually spend my time analysing colour, and he'd be going, no, that's not blue, and that's blue. It was like that bloody dress all over again, except years before that. But yeah, the focal length, the exposure, all that stuff changes how how the photograph is made. And kind of artificial in a way. It's not how the eye sees. Most of the time, people are photographing at focal length, especially with small cameras, that the eye never sees that. It's always a bit weird, actually. Hmm. So. Angle of view, that's what I was trying to say. Ask Leonardo. Yeah, I studied photography, and I know how it sort of. It's not what you're seeing. What you're seeing is not entire. It's not really what's there. You know, it is and it isn't. It's not what humans see, and that can be quite weird. No, I don't know what to do with this one. Whether we do do colour or how's it drying? It's still a little bit. It's always fun. Scratch, 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 scratch. Hmm. Okay. Annoyingly, I can't really see this. Maybe move you over there. Hope you can still see me. Yeah, because I had to move everything across, and it was like, and then something fell off a table at the back, and I'm like, that's good. Anyway, yeah, these are very loose flowers, or not flowers. They're Mardi Gras things. Don't know what you call them. Yeah, I really have made it difficult for myself, but I do like doing that. I'm very good at making it difficult for myself. You might have noticed. Hmm. It's a bit loose, but anyway. Let's rinse this off and immediately dry it. I'm surprised this must be a new one because it's not gone rusty. I do have a pack of them somewhere. I don't know where it is. I think that's it for the ink for the moment. Wasn't Brunelleschi that theorized perspective paints as focal point, and then someone went, hang on a minute. Yeah, I don't know much about Brunelleschi, but there's a whole thing about. Do you know what really pisses me off? Actually, is that they said that perspective was created in Italy in the 15th century or 16th century, so it might be earlier. But yeah, 1500s, I think. But you can actually see Roman wall paintings that have got perspective in them. Now, it might not be a total unified perspective, but and the same thing with shadows. They said, "Oh, shadows didn't exist before Middle Ages." No, they did. In Roman artwork, you can see shadows. So, yeah, there's a lot of ideology there about that said that, oh no, everything started in the Renaissance, or it started in the Middle Ages, and then was, and kind of annoys me because it's, if you do any looking into other cultures, especially, and ancient cultures, you can find all these things. What was different is I think the unified point of perspective, like everything coming down to a line. Second half of the 15th century, yeah. Yeah, that was the difference. Is that you'll see like Pompeii. If you go to Pompeii or Herculaneum, you will see paintings that have perspective on the walls, and but they don't necessarily have a unified perspective. So kind of like it'll be a bit wonky, and it won't be sort of all the points coming into one where you're sitting or diverging in the distance. It's kind of they're almost there, but I've seen people say that the shadows didn't exist, and they do. There's shadows in Roman painting, so don't know why they were saying that. It's ridiculous. Yes, because they wrote it down. So said, yeah, that's the main reason. And I think because people didn't really know so much about Pompeii, hadn't been rediscovered by that point. So people thought, oh, well, we've invented it, and it's like, no, you just reinvented some of these things. You didn't invent it; you just reinvented. There's a difference. I think that's dry at the top, so I think we can do some. We can do some colour. Wasn't planning to do any colour work, but just fancied some. And of course, this is a wash too. A blue to rainbow, and then to a sort of a orange. I'm going to use colours because it's quite bold. I'll use quite bold colours. It'll be kind of a stark contrast to the. I might do probably do this in. I can do it now actually. Maybe not. It's actually dried. But I can do a wash though. Of course, it's leaking into that. I'll just go grey. Tertiary mixing by accident. Hey. But yeah, to answer your comment, Sparky, yeah, it is fun in front of an audience. See, that's how we get a duller blue, is we mix it with orange. And it creates a grey. That's called tertiary mixing, and it's a very important thing. And they don't teach it at school, because the teaching in this country is shite. The more I think about my art education, the more I get annoyed. Because it wasn't very good. Because the more I found out, the more I found stuff that didn't teach me. And I'm like, why didn't you teach me that? Nope. Yeah. Of course we've done that. Don't know if I should be using the cowed orange like this, because it might go a bit, probably will go a bit. Let's add some yellow to it. It's either going to look amazing or it's going to look really annoying. Oh, no. Please, no. Let's add some yellow into it. It's kind of in shadow anyway, so it's probably alright. Looks like a pale red. And so is that. It's like a pinky red. Actually, we have a better one of that, which is that one, which is more of a. I can't remember what that's called. I used to do some flower paintings. It's one reason why I've got all the pinks and the things. It's impossible. There are some colours you cannot do. Well, you can, but they are not light fast. I'm just doing this really quickly, mixing on the page, which is kind of one of the things I used to do. Again, it's exactly the kind of thing you shouldn't be doing. No, you can do it. It's a different kind of thing. That's all. It's very loose, and it's not supposed to be accurate. So it's going to give a sense of colour. Yep. Oh. Yeah. Got cool. Yeah. Sort of the darker shades are a bit more harder to do. Ah, we can use the cobalt here. I like a cobalt green. It's a little bit of yellow. And that'll be good for the shadows because cobalt always kind of dries much darker. It dries sort of more duller. Because for instance, if I want to get a more of a bright green, which I might do, you mix it with primaries, cleaner primaries, like this. So maybe with more yellow. It's not ideal. Maybe do it with the cobalt blue. It's more of a cobalty blue. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah, bane of my life is ultramarine. Never totally happy with ultramarine. It doesn't matter if that happens. You just lift it unless you're using a staining colour. Maybe give these a bit of dimensionality. Maybe a bit more. They're a bit more. They are a bit more greeny blue. Actually. Oh yes. Yeah. And I could blot it if I really wanted to work on this instantly. You can blot it. I'm not a big fan of blotting. It messes the lines up. Yes. Those came out much more ultramarine than I wanted to. Actually, is that right? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's very loose. Very colourful. I think I'll probably do... I should have done this to begin with. It's like a reflective thing, so it's reflective yellow. Oh no, it's the background. It's the background. And we got the remainder. Um, yes. I'm not a fan of ultramarine. I mean, it's a useful colour. But, yeah. This is the best one I've found so far. But I don't actually like any of them. I've tried them all. Watercolour. You name it, I've tried it. Except unless it's really, really expensive. If it's really expensive, maybe not. But do I look like I can afford Old Holland? No. I don't have an Old Holland kind of... I think I'll, rather than trying to mix the blacks, I'll do the... I'll do this in Jackson's ink. This is where it could all go very wrong. I could use that as a little mixing pot, I suppose. Those flowers are more flourishing and shiny than the real cheap ones. Yeah. This is the bit where I worry about screwing it all up. There's some element of randomness about it anyway. Yep. Okay. There's a little bit visible in here in the dark. As I say, it's made it difficult for myself, so I don't really see what's going on in there. And that lightens. If in doubt, cheat with a tissue. You can't totally see that, so it's kind of like a suggestion. That's better. That area is very black there, I think. And there's a little bit here. I don't mind if it spreads. It's kind of it's random. It's not supposed to be too accurate. That's what he says. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. I should do the rainbow thing, really. Yeah, it's this bit which is very dark in shadow. I won't mix the. You can mix watercolor and ink. It doesn't really tend to work very well. It tends to work better if you work with one and then the other. Usually, watercolor over the top. But you can do it the way around. You can, if you've got time to let it dry, you can actually do watercolor. I have worked that way. It's quite fun. Because you kind of like have to put your colours in. You're working the exact opposite of what you would usually do. You're not thinking about light and tonality. You're thinking about light colour first, and then you're putting in the stuff, and that's a lot of fun. I forgot the. I should have done this first, really. I don't mind it going to green because that's what it does anyway. yeah, I wouldn't recommend mixing ink and it's a shame. I mean, I really wish it would work. There we are. Let's get an idea of that. I really wish it would work. I don't know. It's I just tend to find it doesn't. It just goes all grainy and horrible. Yeah. But you can. I mean, you certainly can do that. Mix. Mm, you certainly can, but it's not usually a good idea. In my experience, it just goes grand. You want granulation in watercolor. Yeah. Oop, crap. That's a mess. I'll leave that. I'll leave it. It's all gone wrong. And we'll give it a bit of a background. Oh, not that. That wasn't the colour I was going for. Yeah. There is a method to this madness. Yeah. Not a fan. Hmm. Anyway, what was like a? It's part of that, isn't it? Anyway, you get the idea, I think. So, not happy with that anyway. That changes when it's granulating properly. Not a granulation. That's not granulating. Oh well. He's a kind of that colour, but you know. want a kind of a granulated colour, but maybe more blue. Okay. Oh well. I'm trying to provide some contrast, really. Trying is the operative word. But I love the randomness of the ink, the way it spreads. You know, it's kind of, it is quite random, and you can build layers on it as well. If you think, oh, that's too light. You don't want to obliterate the drawing underneath, but you want some kind of sort of suggestion of what it is, and tone. Without completely destroying it. Which is the fun part. Yeah, it has come a long way. It's amazing how quickly you can do it, though. You can sort of go from one thing to another quite quickly as soon as you start to put colour in. What I'm worried about is losing so you can't really see these properly. You can just see a suggestion of them, but I don't want to lose it entirely. But I'm thinking it will dry. It will dry later. I hope. Yeah, I think that's probably. That's probably good enough. You know. Oh. A tissue is always very helpful. These two can merge together. I mean, this is what you can do with, you know, is what you can do with watercolor. You can't do with ink. Is you can go ink. I always have to be a little bit careful about, because I'm like, once you lost something, you've lost it for good. You know, and it's like you can't get it back again. So the spreading is lovely. But you have to kind of real control that a bit. Thank you, Sparker. Yeah. It's not as bright as the original, but you know, I don't think I was probably going to really get it to be that bright, and also of course, as we do it, like now, this all seems a bit. Yeah, probably not going to get anything that bright. Oh, that shouldn't have spread into that. Which is why you should let it dry, usually. Yeah, you should really be pre-mixing on these colours, but I'd quite like to work on the page, which is just you get more granulation. Great representation, thank you. Okay, so we can see if the other one is dried. I'll put this over here and hopefully it doesn't leak everywhere. So I don't know if I want to colour this one now, or whether I want to leave it as it is, or whether I want to do a different technique. I feel like it does need something. I won't use paint sticks. I've actually drawn this in paint sticks. I've drawn blokey in paint sticks in the past. And yeah, I'm trying to think, what do we have? Well, let's try graphitint. Oh, I need to change the water. Let's put the ink away before we knock it all over. It goes everywhere, which I've done that before. Oh yes, I've done that before. There's still a little bit of interesting. Hasn't totally dried. Right. This is where blotting comes in. Yeah, I don't like to blot. Sometimes it's a necessary evil. It's very hard to find thick blotting paper nowadays. But I will go and replace the water. You should be able to hear me. a wonderful kitchen. Right, which you're not going to see because it's a mess. If I had all my gear out, I could actually use another technique, use some other colours, but I don't know what is available. Ink would be good, actually. That's a thought. Which I didn't put water in there, did I? Would a hairdryer be illegal or damaging? It could work. It tends to move the water away, though. The thing is you want things to dry naturally, because if you want the nice granulation and nice drying marks, you want to let them sort of dry naturally. Alexa, hallway on. So let's see. I'm not sure what that inks. So I'm looking for some coloured inks I used to use. It's black and white and red. There they are. So I used to use yes, I see the logic. Like my walking boots allow to dry naturally. Yeah, because if you want to get these nice kind of dry, I mean, some people. It depends what you do. It depends what kind of work you do. Of course, I left the brush elsewhere. It depends what you prefer. Some people, I don't know, they don't like drying marks. They like a very sort of smooth thing. A lot of watercolorists kind of like accept the medium has granulation, but some people don't like that at all. I love that. I love like you can see that in the background of the other piece. This granulation, which is happening from the cobalt blue and the cadmium orange, granulate naturally. I added in a bit of, I think it was manganese violet, which again granulates. And so you get that sort of spread. If you sort of put them in on the page, they spread out between each other. And I love that. It's just, but some people don't like the drying marks. I don't understand why they'd be a problem, because watercolour naturally does that and ink does that. And you should really work within the limitations, but also accept how things work in your medium, because it looks like it's dried out. This could be interesting. I don't know how many of these. Violet, oh, that's alright, that's got stuff in. Black, we don't really need the black. So I used to use these Dr. PH inks, Bombay inks. Don't need the white. This looks like it's gone orange. Green. Oh, good. Now these inks are very interesting. They are. You wouldn't use them in a pen. You shouldn't use them in a pen. And the question is, I don't even think I can get them open, because they probably. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This might be be a no-go because they seem to have sealed themselves in. And that one's all right. We can do blue. We can do blue. Yes. And the thing about them is they're incredibly vibrant. So there's this very vibrant colour. But you can use them a bit like you would use them. They're semi-transparent. But you can use them a bit like you would do in watercolour. But again, they dry completely. And that's probably what's on this. What's on this table is probably the remains of this stuff. You do not get it off again. It is very much sort of, but you can layer it in a way. So and also dilute it until it until it dries, and you can't but you can sort of layer stuff over the top of it. But whether I can get the other ones opened is the question. The red wasn't ever that great. I seem to remember. Oh dear. There's where ink goes everywhere, but okay, green. Oh, the green's working. Okay. Whoa. So if you want a turquoise, you combine the green with the blue. And they should layer it over themselves, but also it'd be quite nice. Well, we've got these sort of, shame about the yellow, but maybe I can get it working. But yeah, this is where you have to think ahead. So you kind of like go, okay, well we've got these colours, and then if you combine one with the other, I need to put them in some hot water really. In which case they would oh, it's like a yellowy. Right, but we really need yellow. I don't think it open. Oh yeah, excellent. There's not much left of these. Okay, so there we are. What I love about the Dr. PH is it's just so it's just so kind of bright. you know, it's like if you like colour, it's perfect. It's got a lemony yellow, but anyway. Hopefully we'll be able to add a sort of a red or an orange. And nope. Of course I got it on the carpet. That's going to go well. Yes. Yes. Nope. So you can sort of build it up over time. And you can, if you want to pre-mix the colours. I used to do that as well. Let's get that off the carpet. Carpet's screwed anyway. Yes, let's come open as well. I have to get some more of these. I loved working with these. I think some red will add some definition if the red's working. Those are fairly fast drying. It's not the fastest ink. In the world, but it will dry fairly quickly. Oh, we need that done as well, don't we? There are some Dr. PH inks which are more opaque. They seem to dry up really easily though. I've got a feeling they've dried up. They've dried out a bit. Yeah, I mean the colours. That's the spark of the colours of the inks are very, very bright with this. Oh, luckily they're all closed up. They are very, very bright. As you might have guessed, I really like bright colours. This one, oh god, this one won't open. Unless the other one's open. This might have dried out then. Come on. There's a danger it'll open up and then go everywhere. Come on, I want the red. I can probably use another red, if not. Oh, there is a purple as well. I could work on the purple. I really want to work on the other bits. Well, I've got some purple black. Oh, it's blue. Not the purple. Oh, violet. Oh yeah. Do the violet. Yes. And that's good for making blue darker as well. So you've got like a what I used to generally use it for. Also darkening down purple as well. Also quite useful. Oops. And the darker shades of blue. Yep. Don't mind some spreading. Don't mind some spreading, but not super much. Yes. Maybe even the shadows of these. It's a shame I can't get the red open because that's kind of important. Right. And also purple next to orange will make the orange pop, so that's why it's quite good to put it next to the purple, because it will make it pop. Complementary theory. So if we put it next to it'll make the orange look brighter than it is. It's still it's pretty bright already, so it's always a fun one. Anyway, yes. There's red open. Maybe add some orange to the green. There is a sense to sort of blend it out a bit. Actually, don't get in orange. But I really want the red. Would be nice. Damn, this really won't open. Spark, I just thought, would I be ordering comparing art to YouTube content as it's more important to the artist or producer than the viewer? That's a bit of a weird analogy. I don't know. Art is so personal, so it's kind of difficult to any comparison is always going to be a bit weird, but not necessarily invalid. Art is an important thing, but it's also doesn't exist in a vacuum. There certainly is stuff I've seen on YouTube that is art, but also there is stuff which isn't. What happened there? But yeah, I need the red. I need the red. Maybe I can go and boil the kettle or something. Yeah, this is a problem with the red. It sounds like there is actually some in there. Wow. It did have a tendency to do this. Just dry completely. Solid. Bit of a riot of colour. Yes. Speak amongst yourselves while you actually, there might be enough hot water in there. Alexa, kitchen on. Alexa, kitchen on. Silly kitchen. That'll be warm enough. Because that is how you unblock ink things that have dried, is you put them in warm water, or bang them, or both. It doesn't happen very often that they completely seal like this. Yeah, looks like it's completely clogged. Right, let's use another red. Yeah, I think I'll use the Diatramentis. Alexa, hallway on, 100%. Of course, Alexa ignored me, as Alexa is wont to do. Right. Alexa is naughty. I have smart lights everywhere, just because it's easier than I seem to have a Diatramentis red here. That'll do. Diatramentis is kind of, it's fine. It's a different brand, but this can be used in fountain pens. But people do actually use it like this, like almost as a watercolour. It's quite a common thing to do. But it's not as bright as it's a bit orangey, unfortunately. It's not as bright as the other stuff. It's cool. Still be quite bright actually. Dr. pH is really super bright for ink. The trade-off is you can't use that in any form of pen. You can use it in dip. You can use a dip pen with it, or Quill or whatever. You can't use anything else. It's a bad idea. Sparker says, so I feel like I didn't express myself clearly. So in other words, the product is as more important to the artist than the viewer. So it's a weird thing, but I watched a video earlier arguing that AI will never place creators because it is about recording the real experience than just producing a scenario. I don't know. Yes and no, I think is the answer to that one. Like this piece is done publicly in front of people, and it is a very different piece than something I would do on my own. Doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning to me, but it has a different set of meaning maybe. I don't know. It's a difficult one to sort of categorize because you really can't really sort of express it in a way that goes, oh well, it's it's just like this or that, or some other way. It's this one's a bit of a mess. Nothing is black or white. Yeah, but I generally agree with the analysis of. I really am not a fan of AI, even though I've used AI. I'm very much not a fan of it because it's although it kind of democratizes creation, it also turns it into a bit of a kind of, I don't know. It also turns it into a bit of a meh. It becomes a melange. It becomes designed by committee, and it becomes a thing which is not actually what I would call artwork, which is, you in one sense it is the eye of the beholder, and it's people doing what they want to do, but it's never completely in a vacuum. And it's never completely something that's like, oh, art for art's sake. Very little art is actually completely like that. It dilutes real collaboration. I would agree, yes. I think AI does do that, and it can be a useful tool, but it's a real problem because it takes what people go, but you're just jealous because this is wrongly orangely red. You're just jealous because it's you're just jealous, and it's like, no, not really. I've used it. I know what it does. I generally find it to be useless. I mean, it can do certain things really, really well, but it's also quite dumb in what it does. Yeah, I can't get this sort of pinky shade. It's a difficult thing because the orange, unfortunately, the red I've got is. I suppose we can add blue to it. But if we add blue to it, it'll come out purple anyway. I don't know. But yeah, it does dilute creation, I think, in quite an odd way. It takes it's like a takeaway thing. It's like getting having a beautiful meal, that someone has has made for you at a restaurant, or versus and then saying, oh, but you can get this from McDonald's. There is elements of that, and there's elements of snobbery as well. I do accept that. There is good things to be done with it, but it's not a people defending it usually are not doing so. They've invested in it, and they are sort of, because they're so invested in it, they're sort of very sort of so controlled by it. I'm yet to, yeah, Barker says, I'm yet to convinced it's increasing human intelligence. We actually seem to be becoming less intelligent. Less intelligent. Yeah, I'd agree. I think it doesn't help, and it can be, as I say, it can be useful, but often it's not. Often it is just kind of creating this noise, and it creates a sort of a, it's very easy to say, oh, well, it's brave new world and it's all wonderful, but it's not. I don't think it is, and I think it not necessarily increasing everyone's sort of yes. I couldn't get the right red on that. Ironically, the red that's dead. The red that actually is the one that is actually probably would be that shade. It's a sort of a very. Let's make this more kind of red, even though it's not really what it is. It's a bit messy, this. But you get the idea. That's going to take a while to dry. It's fun using these again, though. It's, yeah. That's going to get fun to get off. It won't come off. It will not come off. Oh, Chartism. Yeah, the Chartists smashed the machines. The Chartists were like the Luddites. They struck, and a whole bunch of them got hung, actually, didn't they? Oh no, maybe that's a bit later. I'm thinking of the Wat Tyler stuff. Chartists took the sort of the start of the Industrial Revolution, or early, and then kind of did a mass resistance against it, and would strike and also smash the machines. Yeah, I think I don't know about how related they are, but Chartists were sort of a very much a northern movement, and it was very much around destroying the machines, and also saying that human life has more cost than these machines. It didn't ultimately succeed, though, although I think it forced a lot more consideration about people. I would say the later unions came from that, and they did change how things were a lot more. I think the Chartists were eventually smashed. Way before the original Industrial Revolution, yeah. It started before then. But there was a similar movements in the Industrial Revolution as well. But it's a long time since I've studied any of that. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. I like the colours, though. I like how the he's black and white, and then there's although it's, yeah. 1838. Yeah. Yeah. And there's the other one. I think it's probably the better one of the two. Yeah. But yeah, I like the colours of that one. go through the difference between. It's why they invented. It's why they invented the nib. It's much more controllable than. Though I enjoyed drawing the. I will do more quill drawings. I think it's a lot more controllable. But yeah. So I think that's. Oh, it's probably a long one. Didn't tend to be 2 hours. Wow, wow, it's been a long one. I will do more quill work. I'm currently working on a short to do with the latest video. Should be out before. Well, it has to be out before Black Friday. So yeah, that's always fun about the, we're talking about the chartists and all that sort of stuff. I wonder what the chartists would make of Jeff Bezos and AI. That would be fascinating. But yeah, so I'm going to do that, which is kind of like, as I say, it's like a remake of that video in a short. It's quite fun. And then I'm not sure what the next video would be. It might be a sequel to Titanium Scam, which is going to be a bit kind of like trolley to the gear people, or it might be Scotland, next Scotland one. I don't know which one I'm going to edit next. And I've got another video as well, which is kind of not meant for the audience. It's not meant for the hiking audience. It's just a thing about microphones. So have you enjoyed this? And yeah, it's always good to learn it, learn about history and all that. I learn every day usually. And thanks for Sid and Sparker and everyone who's been watching. And anyone who watches it after the fact as well, you'll appreciate. Please sort of like and comment and all of that. That all helps. And yeah, I will get back to see if my friends are still DJing. Oh wow, it's a long one. 164 minutes. Whoa. Yeah. Good night, everyone. Oh, Soul Trail. Hello, Soul Trail. Enjoying your work, mate. I'm some camping, flicking through and saw your stream. Yep. Hi, Martin. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, it's been I've been doing more artwork recently. Less hiking, more artwork. I hope you're all well out there. Yeah, it must be cold out there. Must be cold to be out there at this moment. It's yeah, what is it? Minus temperatures out there. Keep it fucking freezing. I'm all snug, so happy out. Yeah. Well, yeah. Look after yourself. And yeah, I'm jealous because I am planning a trip, some hiking. I'm planning maybe the Ridgeway. I'm hoping to do it before Christmas, but all the other stuff gets in the way. And I've been sort of had to meet up with friends and do things and editing and lots of things. So I've been doing the artwork. So. But I will get out there. But yeah, when it was really that storm cloudy, I was like, no, I didn't fancy going out for that. Yeah, Soul Trail camps. I've seen his videos where he goes camping. Yeah, as I say, I really want to. Oh, you'll enjoy this. I did this for a video. I'm doing my video about aluminium, so I did a special tin foil hat with tin foil, aluminium, because yeah, I'm doing a video about aluminium because of all the comments on the Titanium Scam video about aluminium. So I'm going to talk about aluminium. And yeah, I can imagine a lot of people go, "Oh, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's dangerous." It's like, really. That looks warm. Yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. So that might be the next video, trolling all the people, because I counted them all up, and I've had about 40, at least 40 comments, 30 or 40 comments on that video, and another one telling me that aluminium is dangerous and toxic. And I think there's more, because I hid a whole load of them as well, because the really rude ones I hid. And so I've got a few of those on email, but I can't find a lot of them. I think someone said I was promoting big aluminium, and I was a danger, to humanity, and promoting poison and stuff. I couldn't find that one, but yeah, there's been a lot of crazy comments on that video over the last 2 years, and because it was October the 10th, that video, and it's the biggest video on my channel, and it's just had, partly because of all those people commenting, going, it's all, you're promoting aluminium, it's evil. So anyway, I think I better wrap up. Yeah, you look after yourself, Soul Trail out there, and thanks to Sid and to Sparker for watching this. Oh wow, you have sheep outside my tent. Night, mate. Yeah, looking forward to the next upload. Yeah, get some shut eye. Yeah, you look after yourself. I'll say good night for proper this time. Are you sure? Yes. I have to take it off this, don't I? You can get a close-up view while I